Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this exciting virtual interview hosted by the Alternative Investment Society. My name is Li Xingao, and I'm an MSF student at Caribbean School and the Vice President of the Society. It's a privilege to represent the Society, which is a platform for students to deepen their understanding of hedge funds, private equity, and etc. We want to help our fellows gain insights into this dynamic world and build meaningful connection with experts and professionals who are shaping the future of alternative investments. Today, we are honored to have Ms. Tiantian Zhu, the Vice President of New Frontier Group, with us for this virtual interview. The interview will be recorded and uploaded to the LinkedIn for our members. Without further ado, and thank you for joining us, Ms. Zhu. And to begin with, could you share a bit about your background and professional journey so far?
Sure. So I would like to introduce myself a little bit. So I'm currently working as the investment VP at New Frontier Group, which is a healthcare service group in China. It's also like one of the biggest healthcare service, private healthcare service group in China. So I'm currently doing like corporate fundraising, corporate M&A, and also a lot of things about operations. So it's more like a corporate investment role. And before that, so since my graduation from AIS, I firstly worked at LEK Consulting. So also like doing healthcare projects in LEK Consulting. And then after that, I joined Vivo Capital, which is a healthcare private equity fund in China and the US. So I worked at Vivo for 3 years, and then I did a lot of biotech and medtech investments in Vivo. And then I spent a year in CMC Capital Partners, so which is actually a consumer and technology focused growth fund in China. So at the time when I joined them, so they would like to build a healthcare platform and healthcare service like a scope. So that's I spent a year in CMC, and then I joined New Frontier. So that's my professional journey overall. So I spend most of my time in healthcare. I mean, I would say I spent all of my time in healthcare since my graduation from AIS. So firstly in consulting and then in investment. So that's it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing your journey, Ms. Zhu. That was incredible, valuable. And you said you devote yourself entirely to the healthcare investment. And what about this industry that sparks your passion and continues to inspire your commitment?
So that's how it comes. So at the beginning, when I graduated from AIS, so when I was doing my master at AIS, so I firstly want to work at consulting or investment. So I spent a lot of time looking for a consulting job, and then it is coincidence that LEK Shanghai office actually did a lot of like healthcare projects. So it's a little bit different. So LEK globally, it does a lot of different industry projects, but its Shanghai office is very healthcare focused. I have to say, so it's like LEK Consulting was the only consulting offer I got when I graduated in 2015. So it was a coincidence. So when I joined LEK, so I started to do healthcare projects. So I spent a lot of time in healthcare. I found it very, very interesting. And then also I found it is an industry with some entry barrier. So if you are doing, at that time when I wanted to turn my career from consulting to investment, it was not that easy in China. but doing healthcare, it was a little bit easier because at that time, not a lot of PE people, they were doing healthcare investments in China. It was not a very hot sector. So by the time when I joined Vivo Capital, consumer was very hot. And also like internet, it was very hot. So you can imagine, in the past 10 years, China like experienced a very, very fast growth in consumer and technology industry, and then you can see a lot of very, very successful investment examples such as Pinduoduo. So I think it was a coincidence that I joined the healthcare industry, and then I found it very interesting, and then I found it that it was an industry with a lot of barriers. So because I need to understand those terms in healthcare. I need to understand that how to look at a disease and how to look at a drug. How does it is effective in a treatment? So that was how to say that. So since that, I thought that I would like to spend my career in healthcare, because it would be an industry that you spend more time in it, you get more knowledge in it, and that's it. And then at the same time, I think so a lot of people, like including myself, like at the beginning when I wanted to do investment, I think it's an industry that I got to learn a lot of money, like not a lot of money, I guess like a decent pay when I graduated. So I felt that doing healthcare, at least I made some contribution to the society. So that's what I thought. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Ms. Zhu. Thank you for shedding light on your motivations and career journey. It provides a very unique perspective for those of us considering the similar paths. And now, it's kind of the application season. And many of our students and fellows are considering consulting as their next step. But consulting, as you say, can be a very broad and maybe also a narrow field to navigate. Could you share your experience working at LEK Consulting more closely? And what are some takeaways or lessons you gained from your time there?
I think consulting is a very good entry job for graduates. So I think it's very true that let me organize a little bit. So to summarize is that I think consulting is a very, very good entry level job to start with, because in consulting you have a lot of chances to get to do a lot of different kinds of projects. So for example, strategy, commercial due diligence, also like in healthcare we do like product launching, and also like maybe like sales force planning. So you get the chance to know a lot of different functions in corporate funds, like including hedge funds and like private equity funds or VC funds. They all work with consulting. And also in consulting, it provides a lot of trainings. So it's for example, like I am working in New Frontier Group now, so we have the graduate recruitment program every year. So we also provide trainings to graduates, but consulting provides a more regular and more systematic trainings for graduates. So when I graduated from SITE, so I joined LEK Consulting. So LEK Consulting, like it was like provided like training every month, and also it even has a systematic training courses to teach you from Excel to how to do interviews, how to do expert interviews, and how to communicate with other the clients, and how to do how people plan to do the strategy projects. And also in consulting, so it has a very large knowledge database. So when I was there, I did a lot of different types of projects, I was always able to find some previous projects to for reference. So I think it's like for a graduate, so you spend the first 2 or 3 years in consulting, you will be very well trained, and then you will get a lot of different a lot of useful knowledge for future careers. Like I mean, it really depends on what you want to do after consulting. So for example, if you want to go to corporate after consulting, then for example, you do a lot of strategy projects in consulting. A lot of people will go for a strategy manager or strategy a strategy job in the corporate. And also, like if you do a lot of commercial due diligence in consulting, then maybe some of them will go to do PEs or hedge funds after that. So I think it's a very, very good entry level job, and it opens the possibilities for you after consulting. So you can see a consulting junior of 2 to 3 years after consulting, they go to everywhere. So I think it's also, from another perspective, I think it's also suitable for people who have not yet decided that which industry he or she wants to stay in the long run. I said that I did a lot of healthcare jobs in LEK consulting, so I decided that I would like to commit myself in healthcare, but I also have peers who actually went to do consumer investments after LEK. So you can see that actually it opens a lot of different possibilities for a graduate. Yeah. So that's what I want to share. It's a very practical jumping stone. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Zhu. That's a very practical advice. It's something we can directly apply as we make our own career decisions. And you said after your consulting career, you transition into the private equity, working with firms like Vivo Capital and CMC Capital, which are typical USD PE firms in China. Could you share some insights into your experience as these firms and provide some advice for students who are aiming to build careers in private equity?
So I think doing like a private equity, there are two very typical pathways. So you either do so it's more common that you firstly do IBD and then you go to PE. So that's a very typical career path. It's all still very common in the US and China. Yeah. So how to say that? But also, like, you can see a lot of different professional people like joining PE and joining private equity and hedge funds after like their first job. So I think my advice would be like that. So if you want to do investment, like if you want to do PE, then no matter what is your job before that you want to do PE, I would think so having a very good industry experience plus the solid financial modeling skill will be very essential for you to join the private equity. So as I mentioned, so doing IBD and then PE is a very typical pathway, I think both in China and the US. So for those who join private equity from non-IBD pathway, so it will not be that easy because it's not that common. And also for private equity funds, recruiting people from IBD is very it's very effective because for a private equity fund, you recruit a people from IBD, the people will be very well trained with those modeling skills, and also like the work will be very similar, because like when the IBD people, they always serve those funds, and then they know how the fund works, and then from like a deal sourcing, deal structuring to deal execution, so that's how they serve the private equity fund. So I think would be more practical. I would suggest that if you want to do private equity in future, you better join IBD after your graduation. But if you don't do IBD, so pick an industry that you are interested in. So getting a lot of industry knowledge, build your knowledge like a competitive capacity, and then solid financial modeling skill. And then number 3 is that you probably need a lot of networking to get an interview to the private equity fund. Yeah, that would be my. I don't know if this is what you want to ask, but if you have more specific questions, I think that would be great.
Yeah, sure. That's what I want to ask. And thank you for your detailed and candid response. It's truly inspiring. And we know that you have joined the USDPE, but also that there are some private equity in China which differ significantly from this USDPE. Could you briefly explain the key differences and offer some advices for students who are interested in both China PE and USDPE?
So so firstly, their dominant currency is a little bit different. So the dominant currency is different because they raise money from different LPs. So for USDPE in China, so they raise most of their funds from offshore capitals, offshore limited partners such as endowment, and also some like large fund of funds, maybe some Middle East funds or something like that, and also for China, like RMB, they raise money. They usually raise money from like mainland LPs, like some onshore companies, maybe some Chinese insurance companies. I think the major difference is that the terms of the fund. So usually a USDP has a very long cycle. So it will be 5 years for investment, 5 years for asset, and then plus some extension with the upon the agreement of like your of the limited partners. But for like RMBP, the terms are usually shorter, so it will be 3 plus 3. Compared to USD fund is 5 plus 5. So with that, like with this major difference, the investment appetite will be very different. For USDPE, so they can bear a longer investment term, looking for targets looking for targets that with longer how to say that, as they can bear targets with later growth drivers. For example, so if they invest in a target, so if that target does not perform well for the first or 2 or 3 years, they can still bear it to expect that target can go better after the first 2 or 3 years, because their period is longer. But for RMB fund, they are doing 3 plus 3, or like maybe a little bit different, but usually they are shorter than the USD funds. So they are looking for they usually do pre-IPO projects before. So if for those pre-IPO projects, they expect that company will go IPO in 2 to 3 years, so they can get the money back very quickly. So I think the stage of the companies they invest in will be a little bit different, and also besides that, I think the culture and the people will be very quite different. So USD PE in China is still like professional, like a foreign professional service firm. So they recruit people from like typically like the investment banks in Hong Kong, or maybe people from like those global investment banks. So the culture will still be very, very, I would say, like a multinational companies. But Chinese PEs, they are pretty local. So the culture will be like a pretty local culture. Yeah. So I think it's the projects and then the culture are the major difference, but also they are changing now. So because like as you can see that there are few and few USPs, USDPs in China. So now there are more and more RMB funds in China. So I think the major changes are RMBPs. They are getting longer and longer terms from their investors. So they are also doing like longer term projects than now, and also like for recruitment, because like there are few and few USPEs in China. So you can see more and more like international bankers joining those local funds. Yeah.
Yeah, your explanation is are so insightful and motivating, and thank you for taking the time to elaborate. And so now you are a vice president of your Frontier Group, a leading corporation focused on investment in the healthcare industry. And what motivates you to take on this challenge from private equity? And how does NFG differentiate itself from other corporations in this industry?
I think I want to do more corporate stuff after I spent a lot of time in private equity. So like doing investment, like I spent a lot of time like doing the deal analysis and deal evaluation. So I don't get the chance to do a lot of operations. And then so so at that time I think it's very valuable for me to join a corporate. So I get the chance to know more about operations. So I exactly know how a company runs. I think that will be very helpful for me in my future career. So that's my major motivation to join NFG. And also I know the people there, so I pretty like them. So that's my motivation.
Mhm. Uh, and uh, and how does NFG differentiate itself from like other corporation, and what is its like strategy or something like core values?
It will be very different from other corporates. So as I said, I want to know more about corporate operations uh when I was in CMC. So I would like to find a corporate M&A role. So at the second thing is that I think I know the people in New Frontier, so I pretty like them. So I don't think in terms of the role there will be some major, like there are some difference there. For corporate M&A roles, they are pretty similar. So you're doing corporate bolt-on acquisitions, and you're doing like strategy. You are involved in a lot of strategy planning, and also like post acquisition integration. I think the work will be pretty similar. I think the major difference is that New Frontier is a very large healthcare group, so it covers almost the whole care service chain, and so I think it provides me a lot of opportunities to understand that how a hospital how does it work from payment, like from insurance payment to hospital to clinics, and then like how does the cycle complete, like how does the cycle work. So I think that's the major major difference. But if you join a consumer corporate M&A role, it will be more likely the same. Doing like you get a chance to learn a lot of consumer industry knowledge, and then you do a lot of like corporate M&A. Not a lot of like corporate M&A is not easy. But it will be similar, I would say. So it really depends. Like for people who are looking for career changes, it really depends on that, what you want to get from from this job, because like from PEs to corporate is pretty different. So in PE, that you like it's mostly about investment. So deal sourcing, deal structuring, deal evaluation. You invest, and then like portfolio management, and also the in a lot of like funds, it has a specialized portfolio management team. So as the investment team member, so you basically stop at portfolio management, or your portfolio management will be very superficial. So it will be very limited because there's a specialized portfolio management team. So people don't do a lot about it. But in corporate M&A, it will be like you also like in corporate M&A, you don't like you do acquisitions, but the successful rate is low because like it involves the perspective is very different. It's not that I invest in this company, one day I'm going to exit. You're not going to exit. You're like the pre-assumption is that you are not going to exit forever. So you control this company. You the strategy. It must fit your strategy. It must have some synergies, and then you buy it, and then you spend a lot of time to do the post-acquisition integration. You need to integrate it. You need to have cost synergy, revenue synergy. So the perspective is very different from private equity. So private equity is basically you invest in it, and you expect that one day you are going to sell it, or the company will go IPO, and then you make money. And there's no such things calling like revenue synergy and then like a cost synergy. Or probably yes, if you have similar like a portfolio doing the similar things, you probably want them to have some kind of revenue synergy, but it's not essential. So that's how it is very different. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your sharing your insights. That was incredibly valuable. And you talk about M&A, and I know that Ms. Zhu, you are an expert in corporate fundraising and corporate mergers and acquisitions. And since many of us will be taking an M&A class next year, could you share one of your most notable M&A experience or fundraising experience and some key lessons you learned from it?
So I would like to say doing M&A in China is not that easy. I think it's that the culture is a little bit different. So I guess in the US, one of the thing is that doing buyout funds. So in the US, as I remember, so I think the culture is that in the US, that for an entrepreneur or for people who own a large company or large factory, it's not a tradition that you have to give this factory to your son or daughter. So it's more common for them to sell to private equity funds. But in China, it's quite different. So if a people who build a business successfully, most likely he or she would like to give it to his son or daughter. So buyout or merge M&A in China is actually not that easy. And also so it will be a little bit easier for those buyout funds because the major evaluation criteria where will be like how will you make money or not. But for corporate, it will be pretty different. How do I say? So I did some like so when I was looking at funds, I was involved in a healthcare buyout, and then that company was doing some consumable manufacturing. So healthcare consumables manufacturing. I think the most the most notable things I learned from this experience is about portfolio management. So let's say, let me put that in this way. So doing M&A, you in private equity funds, so especially buyout, you must think through that how you are going to make money from it. So that deal we did is actually a manufacturing facility in South America. So it has a lot of, but it has a large business in China. So by the time when we did that buyout, we actually thought that it will be a global, so it has a very, very good China story because it's a manufacturing facility in South America, and then like with very good like cheap labor, and then but it has a very large, it has a relatively large China and US business. So we think that we can grow its China business, and then to help it to expand, like grow to expand to China, and then to grow very quickly. So we successfully did. So at the end of the investment, that we sold it to we sold it to another like a private equity fund. So I would think that was a very successful M&A. And the key thing is that we at the beginning when we did that deal, we thought that we are going to grow its China business, so we know how to make money to expand its business. So, and during the whole portfolio management process, we spent a lot of efforts to help it to build a China sales channel, China sales team, and then China manufacturing facility. Yeah, so that would be the one that I want to share.
Yeah, yes, thank you so much. And yeah, and you talk about like revenue synergy and cost synergy at New Frontier Group. And I know that New Frontier Group did a very successful acquisition of United Family Health in China. And can you share a little bit how does the United Family Hospital this project is developing through this year, and how do you think that the private healthcare industry's future in China, what does it look like?
Yeah, actually, I did not. I don't work in the NFH team now. So basically, our business is divided into different platforms. So I'm currently now working in as my role is in some other business platforms. So yeah, so I would say like it's doing pretty well. It's doing pretty well, but because I'm not working in the New Frontier, not working in the UFH team, so I don't know more about it. Yeah, and then the M&A project I did was in my my previous working experience. So what is your second question on New Frontier? You mean like how does the Chinese healthcare, private healthcare will evolve, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I think it's going to I think it's still like I think China's healthcare in the healthcare is still undergoing undergoing structural changes now. So I think it has been for more than 10 years, but it's still undergoing some structural changes for now. So as you can see, that in the past 10 to 20 years, we have experienced a lot of changes in the payment and then in the public hospitals. I think it's going to be simple is that I think private healthcare will be a very, very important component in future, and as well as the private healthcare insurance. So as you can see that what we are trying to do now in China is to promote the basic medical insurance coverage to cover as more as we can. And then you can see due to the financial pressure, there's a huge budget cut or huge expense cut in the basic medical insurance coverage. And then also like the group procurement. So like now in China, you can probably enjoy one of the most cheapest innovative drugs in China. For example, PD1's price, like Keytruda and Opodivo, those like innovative drugs, they're very cheap in China, and compared to the US, like you probably spend like 30K US dollar a year in China. Compare it will be like 115K in the US for the same drug. So for such changes, you can see that, but for such expense control also limits a lot of people's choice in the public hospital. So I think there will still be significant volumes that are squeezing out of the public hospitals, so they are going to private hospitals. So there will be more and more patients they would choose to go to private hospitals. That would be, so I think it's, so in the past, I guess private hospital only constitute like 1 to 2% of the whole overall healthcare volumes. But I think in future it's going to be like a 15 to 20% in a mature stage. So that's how I think about it. And also the private healthcare insurance will be very important. So China is driven by the basic medical insurance coverage. So people in the past, like people don't buy private healthcare insurance, but us, we are facing the financial pressure in the basic medical insurance. So it is, and then a lot of cost control measures have been implemented, but still there are a lot of affordable people with affordability. They want to choose some better drugs and better treatments, so they will go to private healthcare, private hospitals, and then in the private hospitals they need the private healthcare insurance. So I think that would be from payment to hospital that still have a lot of growth potential to release, but I think it will take more time than we expected to change the habits of the patients, and then to change the whole. And also we need more innovative healthcare insurance products in the industry, so that to provide a better coverage, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if this, yeah.
Yeah. This answered my question so well. And thank you for your insights about your personal journey and professional careers. And so and Ms. Zhu also has gone through this really, I would say, suffering application stage. And so for our for the current students, what are some qualities or skills do you believe are essential for us to develop in order to succeed in career like yours?
You mean a career in investment or a career in other jobs?
Career in investments.
I think actually, I would like to say at the beginning it's about some hard skills. So hard skills meaning your financial modeling, you like your ability to write investment memo, and also your research ability. But at the end of the day, it's about people business. So especially in China, I think it's more like, I think it's also the same maybe in the US. So at the end of the day, I think it's people business. So for example, you look at a very, very good deal, and you are going to do the negotiation with the company or with the seller. And so for a lot of good deals, you are not the only one bidder. So how you can get the deal? I think at the end of the day, it's about people business, how you are going to, like how you can differentiate yourself from other bidders, and then how you can manage the relationship from the company with the company, especially for buyouts. You are going to you buy the company, you probably will do a lot of like cost cutting, all those stuff, how you can manage your relationship from with the manager, with the management. So I think at the end of the day, it's people business. And then like for a lot of like for growth stage deals, like especially for those very successful deals, like a very good example would be Pinduoduo. So in the several late stage rounds of financing of this star performer, like star deals, how you can get into it. It's very important that you actually lock down the people. You get the people wants you in, then you are in. So I think for starters, you spend a lot of time in your hard skills like financial modeling, research, and all those stuff. But at the same time, you need to keep in mind that it's about people business. So in the first day that you start this career, you need to build your relationship, build your network, like work with your peers, and then like maybe spend a little bit more time with your peers, because all of you will grow. And then you guys like for your at the same time with your peers will also get promoted in the industry. So you have to build your own relationship network if you want to do private equity in the long run. But hedge funds, I will say, is pretty different. Like being a trader is a very different story. So what I say is only applicable for people who want to do private equity or maybe venture capital, not hedge funds. Just a statement. So being a trader would be very, very, very different.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for your advice and reflecting on your career path. So you returned to China after graduate, and now for many international students, we are facing a dilemma of whether to pursue opportunities abroad or return to China. And do you have anything to say to us?
I would say it really I think like working in China or the US, it really depends on what do you want. So for me, I think for me that I would say it is true that I'm facing language barrier if I'm going to do consulting or investment in the US. Like for example, even though I think when I was working at Vivo Capital, I because it has a US office, so I need to use use English to communicate with the colleagues very frequently. But like a CMC and also in New Frontier Group, I it's still very China like Chinese companies, but don't mind Chinese companies. So for me, it's like my language barrier is my key consideration. So like working in a professional service like in the US, like I think the requirement for language is much higher for international students if you are going back to China. So I would say that's my first consideration. And then the second consideration is that where you want to stay in the long run. So I prefer to go back to China. Is that because my family is in China, so I still want to be in the same country with my family. And so in the long run, so I would like to spend my life in China. It would be like, I mean, it's very different culture and very different lifestyle. So I that's my consideration. So I guess that's how you think about working in China and the US. But besides that, I think the key consideration is that what you want to get in your first job. So regardless of the location, I think the key consideration for the first job is that what is the next job after your first job. So I mean, if a people is getting a job at the same time in China or the US, and then he or she is okay to work in China or US, it doesn't they don't have a preference. I would say you just compare the job content. So as I say that I chose to work at consulting because I think it's a very good entry level job. It opens up the possibilities for future careers. As I did not decide what to do next when I firstly graduated, but it will be the same. Is that if you want to do private equity in future, and then at the first and now you got a job is IBD in China, but a consulting in the US, you probably will go for IBD. Yeah, something like that. So I guess is that how you have to. So you have to think through your whole career pathway. So for example, you want to be a hedge fund partner in future, then your first job may not be IBD or may not be corporate managed, may not be private equity fund. So I don't say they are not changeable. I saw a lot of people who spend the time in private equity and then they jump into hedge funds, but it's not very common. So I'm saying that if you have to think through your whole career and then thinking about what you want to be in the future, and then see what you want to, and then see what will be the first job or the second job that you get in your career path to process your final goal. So that would be my suggestion. It's like location is actually not that important. It's more like a personal preference. You want to live in China or you want to live in the US. It's more like a personal preference.
Yeah. Hearing your personal story adds so much depth to this discussion, and thank you for being so candid. And we are going to conclude this insightful discussion. Channing, do you have anything you want to add? Okay. So thank you, Ms. Zhu, for your time, insights, and thoughtful answers to our questions. Your journey and expertise have provided us with invaluable perspectives on healthcare investment, private equity, and the importance of thoughtful decision making in our careers. And to everyone here, thank you for your engagement and for making this interview such a success. And we hope you leave inspired and better equipped to navigate your own professional path. And have a great day. And we look forward to seeing you in the future. And thank you, Ms. Zhu, again. Thank you so much.